Who is at City Hall?
Mr. Ron Bisline to testify.
Okay. Kelly, do you have the statement to read for the public hearing? Because I can not.
I can find it. Laura, do you happen to have it?
One moment, please.
Thanks, Laura.
We can go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 7:01. First, I would like to ask if there are any public comments on issues not on the agenda. Anybody? Barring that, item 1 on the agenda is public hearing on GLUA-20-000043, HR 20-00009. Historic review for a new single-family home and detached garage in the Canemah National Register District at 616 4th Avenue. And my understanding is Levi Morrison, you are the applicant.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, good.
All right, I'm ready with the script when you are.
Okay, go ahead and read that, please.
We're here for the public hearings on the land use applications previously mentioned by Chair Basinger. Our role is to conduct the public hearing and to make decisions about the matter before us. In making these decisions, we must apply the applicable codes and laws and cannot vary from or change those laws or codes. Members of the Historic Review Board are to be unbiased. Before the start of the hearing, the chair will ask the board members whether they have any potential conflicts, such as family, financial, or business relationships with any of the applicants or with regard to the land in question. The chair will ask whether any of the commissioners have discussed this application in question with any of the parties or have any independent knowledge of relevant facts, such as from a visit to the site in question. Any member of the audience may question any board member about their disclosures. A staff report has been prepared for each application and has been made available to the public 7 days before the first public hearing. The staff report identifies the applicable approval criteria that apply to each proposal. Staff has analyzed the criteria which are contained in the staff report. Quasi-judicial hearing procedure that the board will follow is set out in state law and the Oregon City Municipal Code. The hearing procedure steps are shown on the chart here at City Hall. Anyone wishing to speak should fill out a speaker's card and give it to staff before the hearing. If you're testifying, please make sure to identify your address if you would like notice of decision, but also your name and your city of residence as well. For the public record, testimony and evidence should be directed towards the applicable approval criteria. If you believe other criteria apply in addition to those addressed in the staff report, identify and discuss those criteria and explain how and why you believe they apply to the application under consideration. Any person may submit written material to the public while the public record is open on each application. Any written materials received by city staff during the time period in which the record is open will be placed in the record. Written materials submitted during the public hearing must be presented to city staff in order to become part of the record. If a person intends for PowerPoint presentations, oversized poster boards, reports, pictures, or other exhibits used in their oral testimony to be placed in the record, copies must be submitted to city staff while the record is open. If they are not given to staff, they will not be included in the record. Any person wishing a continuance to present additional evidence and testimony or to keep the record open to respond to new evidence must make that request before the public testimony portion of the hearing is closed. If the Historic Review Board makes a decision with which you disagree, any issue that you wish to appeal must be raised on the record for consideration of the Historic Review Board or LUBA, or City Commission, or LUBA, or both. Without raising the issue on the record with sufficient detail and accompanied by statements or evidence that the city and all parties can respond to, the issue will not be deemed appealable to the City Commission or State Land Use Board of Appeals. In addition, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient detail to allow the local government or its designee to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Now you may open the record.
All right, thank you. First, I'll ask board members, have you visited the site?
I have, yes. Yes.
And I have as well. And now I'll ask if you have conflicts of interest or have had ex parte contact with the applicant.
No, I have not. No.
Nor have I. Okay, with that, we can move on to the staff report. Kelly.
Thank you, Chair Basinger. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Okay. This application is HR 20-000009 for short. New construction in the Canemah National Register District. New home and a detached garage proposed. So the location here is 616 4th Avenue. This property is 100 by 200, but it actually is encompassed contains 4 lots of record, 450 by 100 lots of record. The existing home that you see there in the aerial photo has been approved for demolition by HRB in February of this year. I believe the demolition is not completed yet, but that has been approved. And the applicant has, I believe, has plans to build on all 4 of the lots of record. Right now, we're only looking at one of them, and I have a suggested finding at the end that just clarifies that this proposal and this review is only for the lot in question and not for any of the other development on the overall property. Although the site's in the geologic hazard overlay, there is a fairly large flat area on the site where the existing house sits, and then towards the back 2 lots of record, and from the front going down to 4th Avenue, the slopes are a little bit steeper. The area is also, as is the rest of Canemah, in the historic landslide area, and so geologic hazard review will be required. The applicant has started the pre-application conference process for that, but has not submitted an application or obtained any approvals for the geologic hazard review. It's also in the Willamette River Greenway overlay because the sites or the entire neighborhood is kind of up the slope, and so it's visible from the Willamette River. And in the past, if a proposal met the HRB, new construction guidelines and was approved by HRB, then it essentially could easily meet the Willamette River overlay as well. And so that review would happen in conjunction with the geologic hazard overlay. So here's a larger zoomed out map showing kind of where the site is in Canemah. Of course, 4th Avenue is one of the main drags in Canemah, and then you've got unimproved right-of-way of 5th Avenue behind, and that's a heavily wooded, steeply sloped area that isn't planned for any street extension. And then you've got Apperson Street right-of-way directly adjacent to the site, and between 4th and 5th, which the Public Works Department also does not plan to ever extend an actual city street in that right-of-way. Also, the neighboring structures, 702 4th and 606 4th, are both contributing structures in the district. And the staff report talks about those, the written staff report. The view from 4th Avenue, you can see the home that was approved for demolition there behind a concrete block retaining wall. There's a closer up view. And then from 4th Avenue, you can see there is a small rock wall on 4th, and there's no change proposed to that as part of this application. The applicant didn't propose any changes to the right-of-way at this time, and so purportedly would be using the existing gravel driveway, which is actually within the right-of-way. Currently, it's not on the property itself. And so I've discussed that in the staff report a bit, knowing that, you know, things could change and the driveway could be adjusted. And so if there are major adjustments within the right-of-way to the rock wall, to the driveway, or to, you know, any other part of the right-of-way, then that would have to come back to the HRB for review, because it's not part of this request. So here's the site plan. Lot 4 of the 4 lots of record is the building site. And then you can see I rotated, so there are some upside down numbers here. I rotated this so that it was the same orientation as the overall site plan. You can see the home, a proposed footprint of 1,000 square feet, 25 feet wide, 40 feet deep, with a front porch, and then a detached garage, 2-car garage, about 500 square foot footprint, which actually faces the rear lot line with a driveway proposed from Apperson Street right-of-way that would eventually be shared by the other homes on the lots if those are built. And so I would imagine there'd be an easement agreement between those property owners to use that driveway and maintain it. And the garage doors face that driveway. So here's the proposed front of the home, vernacular style. It's 1.5 stories with a vaulted ceiling to provide the extra space above. This is really similar to what we've seen recently, approved by the board. This design is also very similar to the home that was approved on the other side of 702 4th Avenue, which is the historic home across the Apperson Street right-of-way. So we've got an 8-12 roof pitch. Generally, I think this design is reasonable. It's appropriate. Staff doesn't have any concerns about the compatibility of this design on the front. On the rear, I got 1/1 windows again, a little rear porch. And then we've got the side elevations. This is facing the Apperson Street right-of-way, so this side is going to be more visible from 4th Avenue. And that's the other side, facing 606 4th Avenue, that historic home. And then here's the garage, the garage doors facing the rear lot line. So a couple of items that I want to go over before we delve into other findings and conditions. So there are a couple of places in the staff report where I asked for HRB guidance And one of those items was the front door. So this is the proposed front door from the applicant. And the design guidelines say style and rail type with panel design. I need to reduce my video here. With upper portion glass. So usually we approve a half light door. And I wasn't sure if the board would consider this more to be a panel design that's not allowed, or like the 8 panel, or if it looks fine, knowing that the glass is it has divided lights, which I think is appropriate. But I just wanted to confirm that with the board. Also would like to confirm the garage doors. I've pasted in the guideline in the from the design guidelines document for garage doors. Panel plank crossbuck styles are okay, along with overhead swinging or sliding. So a lot of times we have a condition of approval for carriage style garage doors, which I think is one and the same as this crossbuck style that's referenced here. These garage doors are going to face the rear lot line, so they won't be visible at all from the right-of-way. And so that I wanted some input from the board on whether the carriage-style garage doors would be necessary in this case or not. And then windows. So we got a public comment on windows on the sides. So double hung or single hung 1/1 windows are appropriate. Casement fixed. I think we don't allow sliders. A few of these windows are awnings, and they're paired together. And so I wanted some guidance from the board on that, because there was a public comment, and this is a bit of a gray area here. I also want to touch on the lot coverage. So 5,000 square foot lots, many lots in Canemah are 10,000 square feet. Some are 5,000 square feet, and the design guidelines have a maximum 30% lot coverage for those smaller lots. So with a 1,000 square foot footprint and then a 500 square foot garage footprint, and that doesn't count the porches, that is 1,500 square feet, which is exactly 30% of 5,000. And so this is right at the maximum, not counting porches, which we generally don't count anyway. But I wanted to make that clear to the board that this is maxing out here on lot coverage. And then access, there's no pedestrian access to 4th Avenue proposed. There really isn't anything shown on the site plan for pedestrian access to Apperson Street right-of-way. I wrote in a condition of approval that pedestrian access from the Apperson Street right-of-way to the front porch would be can be added without additional HRB review. But the staff report doesn't currently address access to 4th, and so I think the question here is there a need for direct pedestrian access to 4th Avenue, knowing that in other cases, homes that are, on 5th Avenue, for example, did build stairs up to 5th, I believe. And so I think that's a question that I'd like the board to potentially discuss. I've got my recommended conditions of approval here, including one, that the existing concrete block retaining wall in front of the house needs to be removed or replaced with a retaining wall that utilizes stone or rockery that's appropriate for the district. That concrete block doesn't meet HRB policies. The condition number 3 is about changes within the right-of-way that would be acceptable, making that driveway wider by no more than 2 feet, paving the driveway throughout at its intersection with 4th Avenue, anything beyond that, including any removal of trees in the right-of-way, should have to come back to the board. The proposal includes the textured cedar mill hardy plank siding, so I have a condition to change that to smooth, as we always require. Other conditions are standard ones that we always see. Apologies. And then the second set of conditions that we look at prior to a certificate of occupancy, we didn't see any landscaping on the site plan, and so I have a condition to add landscaping to screen the home, utilizing trees and shrubs. It looks like there's a typo in here, 1.4 inch caliper, it should be 1.5 inches. So I would ask that you make that change if you don't mind. Screening shrubs to screen the garage from 4th Avenue. That garage is going to be fairly visible from 4th. And other standard conditions, and then the last one being the applicant can include that paved or stone walkway on the property itself to the front porch stair, but not including anything in the right-of-way. That would have to be reviewed further by HRB. Okay, I believe that is, oh, and I do have the public comment that came in after the staff report was issued, available if the board wants to read it or look at it. I have a slide with that comment on it. And we can I'm happy to answer questions about that too. That concludes my staff report. Thanks, Chair Basinger.
Okay, thank you. We'll now ask the applicant to address the board, and you might speak to the conditions of approval that the staff suggested, and also if you can address the questions that staff had regarding the front door design and the garage door design. We'd be specifically interested in how big of an issue those things are with you. So go ahead.
Yep, thank you everybody for your time. So I know I spoke on the phone before with planning about those, and I don't have any, like my heart's not set on those. Those are ones I felt fit the look of the windows we were going to use and the design criteria. So I think that's why I chose those. With the garage doors facing to the rear and not being visible from the street, I didn't really put too much, I guess, thought into exactly, how I wanted those. So I'm open to really anything that needs to be back there. But again, since they're not visible, we were going to, stick with design cues and whatnot from, to go along with everything else. But there was nothing that I was dead set on for those. And as far as the rest of the criteria that we needed to meet, and we've met already a few times for some of the suggestions you guys had. I think implemented pretty much everything we discussed, from the detached garage to some of the other placement of the windows, and even with the approach, the only thing that I think would change, possibly if we need to add or widen it a little bit, is when we make our connection to the sewer, we're going to have to dig part of that up and trench there. And so when we put all that rock back, that's when we'll kind of, I think, have to, if we might not have to reconfigure, but if we did, that's kind of where when that would take place.
Okay. Any board members have any questions? Ray,
Okay, I think you guys froze up for a minute, but I think I'm back. Were there some other questions concerning those?
I guess not. Kelly, you had said that there was somebody at City Hall wanting to speak.
There is, we have Ron Bisline, if you want to come up to the microphone, please, sir. And he has two public comments. One is on behalf of the Canemah Neighborhood Association, and then the other one is a personal public comment. If you just want to identify which one is which before you start talking. And state your name for the record.
Do I press this button up here?
Is it red?
It's red.
Yes, if you could push it, that would be good. Oh, actually push it again. It was on. Okay, you're good. Thank you.
Good evening, HRB Board. On behalf of the Canemah Neighborhood Association, I'm Ron Beislein, the liaison for land development in Canemah on the steering committee. And usually we report to the neighborhood association any new developments coming up in the neighborhood. But due to the pandemic and the smoke issues, last meeting was canceled. So the neighborhood association has not talked about this. The applicant did not come to the neighborhood association meeting. I don't know, just because of those issues, or so there's no letter that we can give the board from the neighborhood association. As far as comments go, there was a comment. I saw one on the website from, I think, Jane, talking about the orientation of the house and where it's facing north, east, south, and west. And the other one, I did receive a copy from Paul Edgar, and I think Kelly and Laura also received a copy. I did not see that on the website when I looked, so that might have been given after the time came up. But that does exist, and I think we have a copy of that, right, for the record?
Yes, Kelly has entered it into the record.
It was in the packet that board members were sent.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we emailed it immediately to the board when we received it. It wasn't part of the packet, it didn't come in time. But I have it available to show on the screen if anyone didn't see it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I just want to make sure that we had it, because I wanted to, as far as the liaison, I want to make sure the city had it. I did my due diligence. So that's all I have as far as from the neighborhood association. Any questions?
No questions.
All right, so I'm going to turn to my personal comments. I live at 712 4th Avenue. I will see this house from my home, which will be nice. I'll be glad when the other one's gone. I like a lot of people in the neighborhood. As far as a couple of things, I've built a couple homes in Canemah, and I've gone through extensively through the design guidelines, and I agree the front door, when we've gone through that process, it's half light, and they want horizontal panels, and there were no grids allowed. And so that's when the house we built, those requirements have to be met. And so that's one thing I'd like the board to think about. The siding's smooth. I know in the drawings for the materials used, it shows the cedar drawings, and I think the city picked that up. So thank you very much. And the only other comment I had was the two sets of 3 small windows on the main floor. Usually for this design home, in previous homes of this design, those windows were smaller up top because of the pitch of the roof and the side heights. But these are on the main floor, and these will be visible from the streets. And I think you should consider those 3 windows, small windows, as maybe changing those to be more realistic, like the upper windows, the long ones. And so that's all the comments I had personally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Kelly, did you want to read Paul Edgar's comments, or should we just discuss the comments?
Yeah, I mean, regarding the windows, and there are some other, other items as well. I can bring those on the screen.
The windows are the main things.
Sure.
Issues regarding the site and the geology are not within the authority of the Historic Review Board, so I don't think that we need to consider that part of the letter.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, we're going to have to scroll through all of these because it just threw me back to the beginning. Okay. So it says that the east and west side views of the house are not consistent in design and placement and detract from what is acceptable. Some degree of balance must exist, and the clustering of 3 half-size windows is not appropriate. 2 windows and 2 full-size windows creates more acceptable historic balance. The Apperson Street right-of-way view of this house is equally as important as the front view from 4th Avenue. The garage door also needs something other in design elements considerations. And like you said, the other parts of this are about items that are outside of the purview of the board.
Okay.
So I can go back to the side views.
Okay, good, thank you. So I will ask the applicant now to comment on the public statements there and let us know what you think of them.
Well, and I looked at, earlier today, I took a look at the floor plan just to see where those windows are and which rooms and how, you know, if there was a specific reason. I think the architect just, you know, did that as a design thing, but I have no problem taking out the 3 banks of windows on either side and replacing them with 2 of the single hung or like double hung that we have up top, where they would just, you know, then they would match what we have on top. So, again, like, I don't have a problem doing that.
Good. So if we make that, add that as a condition of approval, then you won't be inconvenienced by that?
No, because the rooms are completely open, and so as long as I'm getting about the same amount of light into those rooms on each side, I think it'll look fine, and then the windows will match, so it's not really an issue for me.
Grant, do you have any comments?
No questions, I guess.
Or Ray, any questions for the applicant?
No, I'm happy with the conditions and very glad to see the applicant is open to the conditions. So yeah.
Great. I thank you, and I think at this point we can close the public hearing and move to deliberation. So we have kind of all agreed that we can add the 1/1 windows to replace the half-size windows on the side elevations as a condition of approval.
I agree with that.
What do you think about the garage door question? I'll go ahead and throw my opinion out there. It's on the back of the house, and as staff pointed out, it's not visible from public right-of-way, so I'm not greatly concerned about the appearance. I think the carriage door style things are nice, but I don't know that it's something I would require as a condition of approval.
Yeah, I actually kind of tend to disagree with you, Ken, on that one. My kind of perspective is that it is on the backside from 4th Avenue, but the Apperson Street right-of-way is not a lesser right-of-way. I mean, it sort of is because it's not paved, but, you know, we've recently reviewed an application, let's see, I guess, you know, kitty corner from this law across the Apperson Street right-of-way that would, you know, have that view down in that diagonal direction. And there's, you know, pending applications, I guess, for the lots behind that would have the upper view. So I always thought it was kind of, I don't want to get into nitpicking whose view is more important than someone else's view, whether it's uphill or downhill or which, you know, and since it is kind of part of our general conditions of approval on other similar homes, I would, for consistency, you know, recommend that we keep that as a condition, that it be carriage style.
I agree with Grant. I didn't know, I was going to ask the question if we were setting a new precedent, if we start deliberating over, you know, back view, front view, out of sight view, these different variations of guidelines. So I like to see the consistency as well.
Grant, are you speaking of the sectional door that has the carriage door features incorporated into it? It's still a sectional overhead door, not an actual carriage door.
Correct. Yeah. Carriage style. Yeah. But yeah, still overhead.
Anything else regarding the design? And by the way, I'm perfectly happy to agree with you on the condition of approval on the garage door.
Okay. All right. The two other things I noted down were on the walkway. I think it would be appropriate to have a walkway to either the Apperson Street right away or to 4th Avenue. It doesn't matter to me which one. You know, there's houses that have access to the side street or to the front street, but I don't, in general, like, you know, the idea of having a front porch with stairs that don't, you know, go anywhere, that you can't, you know, the kids can't trick or treat, whatever, that sort of thing. So, you know, so I would be in favor of, you know, even making that a formal condition that that walkway should go somehow to the, you know, there should be some sort of path to the right of way. And then the last thing that I noted down is that, in my opinion, the 3/4 light, 3/4 divided light door is appropriate for the style of the home. I know there's the text in there about half light doors in the design guidelines, or, you know, and not allowing the 6 or 8 panel. To me, the way I interpret that is it's the pressed, you know, like steel 8 panel, 6 panel lookalike doors is what was not intended. To me, the 3/4 light is acceptable. That's kind of my reading of it.
Okay.
Good question for you, Grant. Your first point, is that part of condition number 3? Regarding the existing gravel driveway in the right of way using a gravel, concrete, or asphalt, and then so on, widening of the driveway by no more than 2 feet, or was that something different?
No, sorry, I'm scrolling here.
It was on the conditions for occupancy. Kelly, could you put those conditions back up for us?
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry, not that one, this one. Number 7, is that what you're looking at?
No, number 3.
Oh, on this page?
Yeah, it was a question for Grant. He brought up a point about the walkway. And I don't know if he was referring to something that's already as a condition or something different.
Condition, it's, condition 7 prior to certificate of occupancy. Right now.
Oh, okay, great.
May include a paved
Yep.
walkway.
Yep, okay.
And per se, I guess it wouldn't necessarily even need to be entirely paved or entirely stone, but that somehow there should be a, you know, pedestrian access to the front door, I guess, from the right of way.
Yeah, okay.
So we have that one covered. The, two that we would add to that would be the front door design and the garage door design. Would anybody like to take a fly at the wording for those? Garage doors shall.
And I have some proposed language I just typed up, but I didn't type one up for the front door yet. Is that one that you all landed on a decision for that front door?
I
So
favor a half light.
half light, okay.
The 3/4. Grant, I know you said that you're fine with it the way it is. How about you, Ray?
I'm fine with that too.
The way it is? Or?
Oh, you're the half light.
Half light, okay.
I'm okay with it. We can specify that it be half light instead of 3/4, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, I think that would probably suffice.
Yep.
So just to explain this a little bit, the first 3 bullets are recommended findings that I would recommend adding, not as conditions, but as findings to the staff report, just in response to the public comment. Not exactly in this this wording, but a finding that expresses that these are lots of record, not new lots, and that the development on those other lots of record is not part of this proposal, and that this, if this is approved, then it doesn't authorize construction on any of those other lots. A finding that the storm pipe that's discussed in the public comment is not under the purview of the Historic Review Board, and that any other land use reviews, including geologic hazard or natural resource overlay, are not considerations of the board. So if you all are okay with that, I can add those findings, not exactly worded this way, but I can add those ideas to the staff report just to as a response to that public comment. And then the next bullet is regarding the windows. So I think that I captured the board's conclusion on the windows, replace the 2 banks of 3 windows on the side facades. Up to 2 1/1 windows can be used to replace each bank of windows. And then next one is applicant shall utilize carriage-style garage doors. Next one, the applicant, instead of may, I think what Grant was expressing was shall add a stone or paved path from the front porch to either the Apperson Street or 4th Avenue pavement. And I say pavement because the right-of-way, if it just goes to the right-of-way, then it might not actually connect to the actual street.
Right.
And Apperson Street may or may not have pavement on it in the future, but I guess that would be to the gravel driveway, essentially. We can add that word, perhaps, pavement or driveway.
Yeah.
And then the front door shall be half light. So I think I captured the additional conditions that you discussed.
I say one thing?
Who asked?
Me, Levi.
Yeah, we, would have to reopen the public hearing for that.
Oh, never mind then.
No, it's fine, we can do that, it doesn't.
I just wanted the clarification on the garage door. Did we decide that they have to be carriage doors or just look carriage style, but the regular, like, 4-panel doors?
Yeah, the 4-panel, the sectional door is fine. They make them with a carriage door, detail.
Okay,
Actually, never mind.
perfect. That was it. Thank you.
We'll reclose the public hearing and resume deliberation then with that clarified. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Well, one kind of general comment, I don't think it needs to be captured in a condition or anything right now, but it's sort of related to some of the public comments on creating a flag lot. In general, you know, even though it's not part of this review, so not important tonight, but the 4th lot that's back in that parcel, you know, the parcel, so the one that doesn't have any direct street access, if Fifth Avenue is not going to be finished or no access from that direction, it does create sort of a landlocked lot back there. And I would say that the grid structure of Canemah is a defining characteristic of the National Historic District. So just as something to be thinking about, maybe Levi, is that's, I don't know, as far as what you're doing with the Apperson Street right away, as far as paving it and other things and the access and the direct street access, there aren't a lot of, there aren't really any flag lots, and I wouldn't, it'd be a question that we would have to consider, I guess, is whether that would be appropriate for the historic district if an application came forward with that type of access only. So whether you plan to do 2 with 5,000 lots or do 1 with 10,000 back there or whatever, it's just something maybe to think about.
Yeah.
For, as you go forward with working on the rest of the access and all that.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on this, I would entertain a motion from the board.
I move to approve application HR 2009, GLUA-20-000043 with the amended conditions of approval.
I'll second.
Okay. Shall we poll the board?
Okay, Board Member Blank,
Aye.
Board Member Stobie,
Aye.
Chair Basinger.
Aye. And with that, the motion is carried and applicant can move forward with the project.
Thank you.
We wish you well on that.
Thank you. Thanks for all your help.
You bet. Okay, next on the agenda is the minutes from past meetings. And I see that these minutes are considerably longer than the ones we dealt with last month.
Are they?
Yeah. So I think I would like to deal with them individually, not that I have any reason to think they're inaccurate. But we'll look first at January 6th, 2020. Have the board members had the opportunity to review these? I have.
I have as well.
Yes.
Okay, do you have any corrections or additions to those minutes?
No corrections.
No changes.
Okay. I will then propose or make a motion for ratification of those minutes.
I moved to approve minutes for January 6, 2020.
I'll second.
All right.
Board Member Blythe,
Aye.
Board Member Stobie,
Aye.
and Chair Basinger.
Aye. The next set of minutes is for January 28th, 2020.
I have reviewed them and I have no corrections.
Thank you. Yeah, and Grant.
No changes.
And I have none either.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 28th, 2020 meeting.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay. Board Member Stobie,
Aye.
Board Member Blythe,
Aye.
Chair Basinger.
Aye. And then we have February 26th. Here we have two sets of minutes for the work session and for the public meeting. So if we can deal with them as a unit, that would be handy. I have read them, reviewed them, and I have no changes to make.
I have also reviewed them, read them, no corrections.
Yeah, no changes here either, so I'll move to approve the minutes for both the work session and public hearing for February 26, 2020.
And I'll second.
Board Member Blythe.
Aye.
Board Member Stobie,
Aye.
Chair Basinger.
Aye. And with that, the minutes are duly ratified. And the next item on the agenda is communications. Take it away, Kelly.
Yeah, I was looking at the minutes again, and I think the reason they're longer is with the start of COVID, their library staff were enlisted to help with minutes in order to give them some work to do at the closure of the library, and so that might be some of those. So the next minutes you review at your next meeting might also be lengthy and thorough. They're very thorough.
No objection to being thorough.
The only communication that I have is that next meeting we are planning to have interviews for new board positions or open board positions, and that includes the at-large position, the architect position, and McLaughlin resident position. The application deadline has been extended, so if people still have time to get in applications if you want to reach out to anyone you know who might be interested in serving on the board. And then the minutes that you just approved about the demolition and new construction review, we have an intern on board who has started working on that project, and so he might be in touch with you all. He is a current student in the PSU Masters of Urban and Regional Planning program, so we're really excited about working with him, and he might want to, contact you individually to get your input on that topic, which is, this being a legislative file eventually is completely above board, no issues with like ex parte contacts there. So just a heads up on that.
Thank you. And that's everything?
I believe so. You tell me, am I missing?
Have anything for the good of the order? In that case, take care, everybody, and we'll call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.